Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Harry from Hasper TV, and I'm back again with another video. As you guys know, we had the protest on Thursday now against United, and we drew 2-2. So 2-2 was a good result against United. Let's talk about it. So yeah, Mason. So not surprisingly, he left up Kulusevski, started Richarlison, which was quite an interesting thing, I think, for me, because Kulusevski hasn't been dropped this season, and finally, after so long, someone actually finally dropped Kulusevski. Am I surprised that Kulusevski was dropped? No, not really. I've got to be honest, not really. It was good to see Richarlison start. I have to admit, Mason did put Richarlison on the left, and we did see it's just something a little bit different because some played on the right, Richarlison played on the left, and Kane obviously played up front. Now, the first half, as you guys know, I tweet a lot about Eric Dyer, but that was, again, bloody horrific. The Rashford goal, they just playing for us. What I felt like the first half for me was the difference was you had Man Utd who had 2 or 3 forward playing players in Eriksen, Bruno, and Casemiro. And Eriksen, obviously, he was coming back to Tottenham on his return. Bruno and, like I said, Casemiro with forward passing. Spurs midfield with Skip and Højbjerg, albeit they are a decent defence for the defence, or holders for the defence, if you want to put it that way. Neither Skip nor Højbjerg are like playmakers. Like I said, a lot more forward-thinking players in that United team. And I did feel like later on, when they took off Eriksen and brought on Fred, among other changes, that kind of gave us the impetus to actually get a draw in that match. But yeah, in terms of the result, I don't think a point does anything for us. We need ideally to win every single game if we're even going to make Europe. I don't know if you guys know, but Brighton are winning 6-0 right now, and they'll have 2 games to hand on Tottenham with only like 1-2 points behind. So Brighton are catching us. I'll talk about Liverpool later on because Spurs have actually got Liverpool tomorrow, unfortunately, away from home. But for United game as a whole, first half, rubbish. Again, the defence, even Romero, I don't think he's been playing well this season. He wasn't good either. Porro, I mean, it is his first 10, 15 games or whatever it is at Tottenham, and I want to give him time. But so far, I'm a bit mixed about Porro. And I think United game, attacking-wise, he's really good. Defensively, he's very suspect. He often leaves his man. The fact that the Rashford goal, if you look at the Rashford goal, Porro, obviously I'm going to blame Dyer partly for this as well because he let Rashford shoot, but that was Porro's side. Porro had obviously gone forward, and then he got Dyer left on one-on-one with Rashford, and we all know what's going to happen then, right? And so yeah, let's think about that. Like Dyer again, awful. I'd rather see Tanganga in defence alongside Longley and maybe move Romero into the middle because I think if Romero plays in the middle, maybe he'll be a little bit calmer because he doesn't have the authority to go up the field and be a madman. Maybe that'll be better for us. And this is a game as a whole. United, it felt like for me when I watched United play Seville a few weeks ago in the Europa League. It was kind of like a repeat of that game. United went 2-0 up. They sat back and just let us into the game, and we got the result. Now, whether it's actually a result or not, in my opinion, it's not. 2-2 is not going to do anything to us. We need 3 points, not just 1. And I still believe Spurs won't finish in Europe this season. But yeah, I'm going to bring up another point. So I did speak about Mason in the first few minutes of this video. So obviously we lost 6-1 against Newcastle last game. And I do think Mason was given instructions by the board not to lose this game. I'll talk about the protest in a minute, but let's just talk about this because I do think if you look at the last change, you took off Son for Tanganga. I do think Mason was told, just don't lose this game because if we lose this game, the Levy Out get louder and louder. And I still don't think they quietened us really. It kept us quiet after drawing to United. That's not going to do anything. You still go through the Spurs Twitter feed, and you still see everyone replying, including myself, saying Levy Out, Levy Out, Levy Out, Levy Out. Yeah, but I do think Mason was told not to lose the game, And at 2-0, he kind of had to go forward. If you notice, he changed to a 4 at the back, a 4-2-3-1, it felt like to me. And that's when we scored, I think, our 2 goals. But even though the momentum was with Tottenham, I do think Mason changed it to back to 5, because at 2-2, even though, yes, we could win the game, he probably felt like, oh, I don't want to lose the game, because if I lose the game, Daniel's going to give me lip. So rather than trying to push and win the game, he just took off Son and brought on Tanganga. Son himself, I know he scored the goal, but I don't think he was good again. He missed one of the best chances of the game. Dyer did too. Dyer missed a crazy good chance with that header. But Son really should have at least at the target with that shot that went well wide a lot earlier in the game. I think like if he missed that last chance, I would have asked a massive question mark of him as just a forward player in general. But yes, I do think Mason was told just not to lose. So when we went 2-0 down, he went ultra attacking. And then when we went to 2-2, he kind of like just sat on the score at the 2-2. And like I said, it was to do with, I think, Daniel telling him, oh, let's just make sure we don't lose the game, because at least will shut up some people in the crowd saying Levy out. And I do believe Mason is a yes man. I do think, maybe in a few years he could become a decent manager, but I still think he's just following what he's been told to do. And this is why I bring this thing up. So, yeah, the fight for Europe. Do I think Tottenham are going to finish in European spots this season? No. Brighton, I think, will deserve to finish in Europe, and I think they probably will finish in Europe. As for Liverpool, I'm going to talk about, like I said, in a bit. But do I want Spurs to finish in Europe? I'm not. I don't. We're not going to finish the top 4, so forget that. And top 4 doesn't really change anything with Tottenham in the transfer market. So why would the rest of the European spots do that? The only reason I'd want us to finish in Europe was so we could actually go out and win a trophy like the Conference League or Europa League. But when have Spurs in the past ever taken those competitions seriously? I ask you guys, never. We often go into these competitions, play the youngsters, then we might get through the groups, or in the case of Conference League last year, we didn't. And then further down the line, we get knocked out. So make of that what you will. That's why I don't see the point in us finishing in Europe. Like I said, if we finished in Europe and we took the competition seriously, we might actually win them, but we don't. Now, our Spurs are going to finish in Europe on the whole. I do think that, like I said, I'll talk about this in a bit, but I do think tomorrow's game is a massive indicator of yes or no. But Spurs also have to play Villa away, which I think that's going to be a loss. We also got Leeds at home away on the last day, which Leeds, if they can get some points together, might actually have a chance to stay up. There's not an easy last 5 games for Mason. If you look at the way we're playing this season, it's really not easy for him, and with the squad he has. And I'm not saying Mason might not be a good manager in the future, but it's just not easy for him. Do we deserve to finish in Europe? Based on this season, no. I just don't think we've done enough. The defense is a shambles again. If you look at what happened with Conte last season, I think he just kind of put us in a position to kind of pounce if Arsenal slipped to get that top 4 spot. And I think the momentum of Kulusevski and Bentancur, who's been a massive miss for us. I mean, Bentancur's injuries destroyed our midfield. There's no forward-thinking player in that midfield, really. So Bentancur made Højbjerg look good, and he's made Skip look good. So without Højbjerg, I just don't see us finishing in Europe. And his injuries literally killed us. It's pretty much killed our season. This is why you need to have a good squad. Skip and Højbjerg, they're both pretty much the same. The only thing Skip has over Højbjerg right now is his age. So Skip can still get better, and I still do like Skip. But is he going to really be a top player? Who knows? But is he going to be better than Højbjerg? I do think he will be better than Højbjerg. Does this mean we should sell Højbjerg? I do think Spurs, with Bentancur's ACL, do need a new midfielder in the summer. And we can't risk not buying a central midfielder, because Bentancur will come back. Whether he'll be the same player or not is a massive question mark. Because, like I said, ACLs, they really, really, really can be quite bad. But just back on this bit. So, will a point help Tottenham in the race for Europe? Yes and no. I guess like I said, depends on the next 5 games, because Spurs are playing teams around them who yeah, are in the fight for Europe. Okay, so we're Spurs playing Liverpool tomorrow. Spurs away record at Anfield. So if you guys don't know, Spurs last win at Anfield is under Harry Redknapp. We won 2-1. I think was Hodgson or Rodgers the manager for them at that time? Was it Brendan Rodgers or Roy Hodgson? 2011. So a Modric penalty and a Van der Vaart volley. You guys see that quite often on my Twitter stream because I repost that quite a lot. That was the last time Spurs actually won at Anfield. Before that, I think it was Gary Lineker or someone like that scored back in like the 1991 or something like that, or the early 90s. So Spurs' record at Anfield is pretty shocking. Do I think we're going to get a result tomorrow? No. Liverpool have so many attacking options, and with our defence, I don't think we stand much of a chance. Is there a possibility that Mason will park the bus? I'm going to talk that in a minute, but if you look at our record at Anfield, it's just so bad. I just don't really hold much hope for us. I just think it's going to be another 3-4-0, like maybe not as bad as Newcastle, because Mason will probably at least put 5 at the back or 3 at the back, however you want to take it, and not exactly park the bus, but he will try and hold the score somewhat. And yeah, but on the whole, I still see Spurs losing 3 or 4-0. I just think Liverpool have too much firepower in there, and the best Spurs can hope for tomorrow is a draw. If with some divine miracle Spurs win the game, I'll be very shocked. So yeah, our away record at Anfield is so bad. It's just so bad. Okay, I said I was going to talk about this. Should Mason park the bus, and can he? So for me, last game against United, I wanted to see this side. I wanted to see Forster in goal, who, by the way, this season's been much better than Lloris. That's who I wanted to see last game against United. And that's what we got, because, as you know, Lloris is probably not going to play for the rest of the season due to the bust up with Dyer. If you guys don't know about that. So Forster, probably I want in goal. I want to see Tanganga, Romero, and Longley is like a 3. So Romero in the middle. And as I said, I think maybe him playing the middle calm down just a little bit. And then I'd like to see Poch on the right, because we don't really have any other options. But I'd like to see Davies at left wing back, because I do think the wing backs are going to need to tuck in a bit more as well. And Davies tends to do that because of Liverpool's wide players in their 4-3-3. I'd like to see Sarr start, because I think we need an extra man in midfield against Liverpool. Because they have 4-3-3, of course. So Sarr, Skip, and Højbjerg, because Bissouma ain't back. And I'd like to see Richarlison up front with Kane. That's what I want to see, because for me, like before Richarlison got taken off, he was our best player. I don't care what anyone says. In the first half, he was the only player who actually did anything and actually pressed, actually fought for the ball. It's just a shame that whenever he scores, apparently he's offside. What can you do? But should Mason park the bus? I think he should. Like I said, point at Anfield is like gold dust. we have only won there once in God knows how long. So yeah, if I was a manager, I would park the bus. Will Mason park the bus? I don't think he will. I think he'll stick with a 3-4-3 again. I don't think he'll be as defensive as I want him to be. Will the fans take another 3-4-3? I guess maybe they will, because maybe Mason might change it if he doesn't. Okay, so obviously the Levy Out protests, apart from the fact they're happening on Twitter all the time, because me and a number of others on that platform were just putting Levy Out, Levy Out, Levy Out, Levy Out. Was the protest good? So I did actually go, and there were over 100 of us, so maybe 150, including one of my mates. And yeah, do I think it was successful? Well, there was more people that joined than before. Do I think it's getting more media coverage? Well, TalkSport covered it and interviewed Brian during the protest. The songs, I think, were great. There was nothing like that offensive that people can get really, really, start picking little things out of what people were singing that are like offensive or bad or whatever. It was just songs to get Levy out. And there's a reason why we're Levy out, because we're in this position right now. We did 18 months without signing a player, and as a result, here we are. And I do feel like the Newcastle game was a culmination of those 18 months coming to the fore in the space in the form of like a match, because the defense was a shambles. The goalkeeper who'd declined for 3 or 4 years, and Lloris was still in goal and letting those 6 goals. You had the midfield, which is pretty average, and then the forwards, which have been overworked or as a consequence as well, with lack of competition, out of form. Do I think Levy Out protests will carry on? Yes, they're going to carry on every single home match, every single away match. If you're an away fan, expect to sing that song. Were they effective? I do think the numbers are growing, and I think the last one was a big step in the sense of the media coverage and also just hitting that over 100 mark. And once that hits 1K, there's going to be way more people joining. Once you hit that magic 1K, just like on here, you hit that magic 1K, a lot of people tend to join more than before, right? So, yeah, carry on singing Levy Out, and hopefully we can get them out. Predictions for tomorrow. Well, hopefully I'm wrong like I was with United, but I do think Spurs are going to lose like 3-1 or something like that. 3-1. I just think Liverpool have too much firepower. Salah's back scoring again. It wouldn't surprise if Nunes scored a goal. And yeah, I do think Spurs will lose 3-0. Just if you look at, like I said, Spurs' record at Anfield, it's really shocking. And I don't really expect anything else but a loss tomorrow. I thought I'd just touch on this quite quickly. Harry Kane to Man United. Well, Harry Kane was actually asked about Man United's songs versus us on Thursday. So if you don't know, Man United fans were singing Harry Kane, We'll See You in June, which I actually quite funny. Do I think Kane's going to go to United? Well, I do think United is the most likely destination, and reportedly there's been preliminary talks. I think David Ornstein reported this earlier this week. So Kane leaving the club is probably going to happen. It should have really happened 2 years ago, but Conte kind of kept in here for an extra year and a half. Man United is the most likely destination. Another two I'm going to throw in the hat, though. Newcastle, just don't be surprised if Newcastle try and make a move for Harry Kane because he's English. They might try and push to Kane the whole Shearer narrative because Shearer did get his record whilst he was at Newcastle. And I do think that sort of thing might, the romanticism of it, because he does want to overtake Shearer. Kane, to go to Newcastle and overtake Shearer would, I'm not saying it would appeal to him that much, but it might be something he might think about. The other team, of course, okay, I'm going to put this up in a sec. Give me a minute. This is kind of relevant, and I might as well just talk about it as a separate section. Yes, so I think Kane could go to Chelsea because, as you guys know, Poch is basically going to Chelsea. How does everyone feel about this? Well, for me as a fan, I do think Poch will do better than Potter. Do I think he'll win them trophies? Maybe, maybe not. I do think he'll probably get rid of the players he wants to get rid of compared to Potter because Potter kind of just said yes to everything. Will Poch say yes to everything? I do think he'll say yes to most things, but maybe not everything. Will Poch do well at Chelsea? I think, like I said, he'll do well. I think he'll get them in the top four. Whether he'll take them to like the title or to win the Champions League or anything like that, I don't know. They have a young squad. I think the striker situation is the biggest issue for Chelsea. The lack of goals. Aubameyang's going. Lukaku is probably not going to stay. So Harry Kane to Chelsea is actually a real possibility with Poch going there, especially now. I think Harry Redknapp, another ex-Spurs manager, mentioned in the press about this. He said that he does think Poch will go for Kane. But will Kane be attracted to Chelsea? Well, Chelsea aren't in the Champions League. They're I don't know. They've been worse than Tottenham, which says a lot. So will he be attracted to go there with Pochettino as a manager? If Poch is guaranteed an authority and funds to just dismantle that Chelsea squad, even though they bought so many players, and to get rid of, say, the older players and bring just tweak it a bit, maybe adds like a more, because obviously they got Kante still. Maybe add another midfielder, 2 strikers, and maybe another centre half or a fullback. Chelsea could do bits next season because I do think there's an amazing squad there. It's just little tweaks here and there. And yeah, do I think Kane to go to Chelsea? Well, the advantage I think Chelsea have compared to United and Newcastle is Chelsea are in London, and as you guys know, Kane's wife is pregnant, so for him to go to Chelsea is actually a lot easier. Will Levy sell to Chelsea? Well, I don't know. I think this time he might because Kane has a year left, and also it's not Abramovich. is Todd Bowley. So there is, I think, a possibility of them to kind of not becoming friends, but kind of come to some sort of agreement, and maybe they'll help each other out. But Poch to Chelsea, will Kane join him? Maybe he will. Like I said, it's not against the realms of possibility. And I do think Poch to Chelsea is like a real thing now because of the London factor in it too. Like I said, Newcastle for me are like the dark horse. I think Liverpool, I think they're going to give Nunes another year, so I can't see them really making a move for Kane. United, like, is number one. I'd put Chelsea number two and Newcastle number three. Even though Newcastle are going to have Champions League football, and they do have an English manager, so which might play some sort of a factor. But I know Ten Hag's a massive Kane fan, so Kane is probably going to leave. Is he going to Chelsea with Poch? I do think they're like my number two on the list of things that could happen. Just so you guys know, Kane can only leave for 100 million plus, according to like reports. So Levy wants 100 million plus for Harry Kane to go to an English club. Is a club going to pay that? It's going to have to be one of those three. One of those three with massive money in Chelsea, Newcastle, and United. So who's he going to go to? Who knows? But Poch to Chelsea is a real possibility. As for a new manager, so as you guys know, this is a solo stream, so I'll probably go for another 10 minutes. Who do I want as new manager for Tottenham? Well, number one, am I so hot on the young manager debacle? Because a lot of Spurs fans want this young manager who's going to come in and apparently totally change the way we do things with younger players, a younger squad. Do I want a young manager at Tottenham? Well, in my opinion, I don't think bringing a young manager is going to immediately solve the problems at Tottenham. And yes, I know a lot of people want this long-term project. Again, I'm not as patient. I don't want a long-term project. I want someone who's going to come in and be able to pick out the players he wants and say, I want this guy, this guy, this guy. And actually also want a manager who can I'd pick his own director of football, because that's what worked best for Tottenham with Arne Slot with Joel and Poch with Paul Mitchell. That's always worked the best. So let the new manager come in, let him pick the director of football, not the chairman. I don't want to leave it anywhere near that. And do I want a young manager though? Like I said, no. I'm not the same as other Spurs fans. I don't want a young manager. I want someone who's going to come in and has some sort of experience to come in and assess the squad within like 2 months and say, this guy, this guy, this guy, go. Because we're going to have all these loan players coming back. This guy, this guy, this guy, keep. I think regardless of the manager who comes in is going to want a defender or two. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm with What's the Point FC. I'm surprised this guy's not in the chat today. Because, but I'm warming more towards Arne Slot, personally. I think he's done really well at Feyenoord. I must confess, I don't know him that well. But he's got more experience than the other names mentioned in like Company, who's going to come up from the Championship, and he may need another year or two with like a team like Burnley just to see what he can do. And other names like Graham Potter and people like that. I'm more for Arne Slot because at least being a European manager also, he can just attract more European style players. If you get someone like a Potter or a Company, I think Company is a bigger name, but he's going to be more attracting players within the Premier League, less so around Europe. Arne Slot also is more of like an old school manager from what I've heard, and I do think Spurs might need that. My ideal candidate would be Sean Dyche, but people know how much I feel about Sean Dyche because I just think these players need a massive rocket up their arse, and I think someone like Sean Dyche would do that to them. So who do you guys want as a manager? And just some closing things. Come on, you Spurs, and Levy out.